Shrimatre Namaha. Namaskaram everyone, and welcome back to our Sacred Rites and Rituals of Sanatana Dharma Learning Series, which is a joint presentation by the Sri Vidya Temple Society of Rochester, New York, USA, and Ashtanga Yoga Mandir of Sri Lanka. These lectures are conducted by Sri Chaitanyanandanada, affectionately known as Ayya. Ayya is the founder and Pitadipati of the Sri Vidya Temple. Both Ayya and Amma, Srimati Nyanamba, have dedicated their lives to the noble mission of preserving and spreading the knowledge of Devi worship and their rich tradition of Saiva Bhakti, as well as ensuring learning of these rich traditions is accessible to all individuals regardless of caste, creed, or gender. Through these learning series, Ayya continues to share the wealth of knowledge and his continuous dream of making learning accessible to all individuals. Currently, the temple is celebrating Kedara Gauri Vritam. The puja commences at 6 p.m. every day. Please join us for the final celebration of Kedara Gauri on November 3rd, 2021 at 6 p.m. Also, just a reminder that Skanda Shashti Vratam will also start on November 5th at 6 p.m. We kindly ask all visitors to register before visiting the temple and adhere to the COVID-19 protocols. A few housekeeping reminders. Before we begin today's session, we kindly ask everyone to use the question form to share any questions you might have pertaining to the topic discussed. For those viewing our live stream, our question form can also be found on our webpage, which is srividya.org/aym-lectures. At this time, we will hand it over to Aya to begin today's session.
Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hamsa Siva Sumoham Hamsaha Hasaka Frame Hasakshamavarayum Hasaum Sahakshamavarayim Sahau Swarupani Hetave Swagurave Sri Annapurneshwari Amba Sameda Sri Lakshmi Amrutanandana Sri Mahapattaraka Sri Guru Sri Padukam Pujayami Tarpayami Namaha. Namaskaram everyone. Welcome back after a very satisfying Navaratri celebrations. My humble pranams to my esteemed Guruji, and I pray to him and prostrate before him, requesting that he sit on my lotus, open lotus, heart lotus, and speak through me. We had just finished, if you remember and recall, the series on the Dvajastambam and the Dvajastamba Puja. In a temple, there will be various festivals. If the temple has been constructed strictly according to agamic principles, there are several festivals depending on the main murti that is installed in the sanctum that are mandatory. You have to do those festivals. The temple authorities have to make sure that those are done. If you remember, in my previous talks, I have talked to you about how this temple is not constructed according to agamic principles, but is constructed with both agama and tantra in mind. So there are several intersections, points of intersection in the running of this temple, because Sri Vidya itself is a strictly private upasana. When we do celebrate utsavas, one of them can be the main utsava, which is called Brahmotsavam. If you recall, if we have a flag raising ceremony and the flag goes up, minimum of 10 days has to be observed in the festival. And according to how this temple is run, which bases some of the rituals, most part of the rituals on Kerala Tantra, on the pujas conducted in Kerala, close to Palakkad, because that happens to be my ancestry. Alankara Utsavam, a simple festival, can be done commemorating the Kumbhabhishekam. Kumbhabhishekam can be Samprokshana Kumbhabhishekam. Samprokshana Kumbhabhishekam means a temple has been built from scratch and the deities have been made from scratch and installed in the temple, and an elaborate festival is done to attract the divine powers into the temple through the Rajagopuram and the Vimanam, and into the murti that is in the sanctum sanctorium. After 12 years, reinvestment of this energy has to be conducted, and that also is a Kumbhabhishekam. That is called Jirnodharana Kumbhabhishekam or Punaruddharana Kumbhabhishekam, where the necessary repairs have to be conducted, have to be made. In the 12 years, there may have been deterioration of certain parts in the temple. One of the main things is the Ashtabandhanam that is at the base of the murtis. So these have to be repaired. Now, if you look at Kumbhabhishekam, there will be lots of rituals mentioned. Angurarpanam, Vastu Shanti, Grama Shanti, and so on. Bimba Suddhi, lots of them are there. Kalakarshanam. So, depending on what the murti is in the sanctum, you can conduct those. In the Kumbhabhishekam, Kumbha Abhishekam. That means the Kumbhas are established in a Yagnashala. And in the Yagnashala, there is a central point that is called the Vedikai. The main deity is invoked in the main kalasam, and Parivara Murtams are around. Parivara Murtis are around in smaller kalasams. And after stipulated period of pujas, homams, and other divine exercises like yantra pujas and all that, in the place where Mrida Sangraham, that is clearing and cleaning up of the area where the temple is going to be built, this kumbham is taken in procession and then the murti is bathed in it. And all the mantras, the homa pujas, all the mantras are inside the water in a mixture that is contained in the water, which is designed to pull the mantras in, attract it in. It is poured. At the same time, on the gopuram, if it is an agamically constructed temple, especially of the Dravidian style, there will be gopurams. In the front of the deity will be the main gopuram. Mostly it is on the eastern side. It's called the Rajagopuram. And Upha Gopurams are there in the other cardinal directions. Each of will have a kalasam or kalasams. In large temples, there will be 10 kalasams or more sometimes. So if we can show some of those kalasams, an interesting fact is there, mostly it is made out of metal, usually copper. And if they want to show the wealth of the temple, or they want to enhance the beauty of it, they will gold plate the kalasams. Now the kalasams that you see here, they are only part of what is there. If you see the Rajagopuram on your left hand side, you can count the number of kalasams. This kalasam will be anything up to 3 feet or 42 inches tall. It's huge. So you can imagine the shape of the kalasam, the pot shape that is there. Usually the pot shape is filled with grains. In the old days, they filled all of these kalasams. You can imagine on top of that, you see about 10 or 15 kalasams. All of them will be filled with grains. The filling of the grains was to prevent all the seed stock getting destroyed in case of natural calamities like floods and other things. See how carefully they planned for these things. That thing is about 200 feet tall. So on top of it, it will be there. And after the natural calamities have gone, and once in 12 years it is taken out, they will replace the grains inside that. So this is the Kumbhabhishekam process that we are talking about. You see, these kalasams are all gold-plated. And you can see the priests are pouring the water on top of this. At the same time, in the Mulasthanam, that is in the Sanctum Sanctorium also, they will be pouring the thing. Now, today's talk, however, is we are going to continue about the Brahmotsavam that takes place in most of the temples. The Brahmotsavam is a must. Unless the temple is very small and it's a village deity that is inside, then they will celebrate it in typical village fashion. Now, if the Brahmotsavam is there, usually in a temple, in an agamically constructed temple, there will be 9 different shapes of Yaha kundams. That is, Homa kundams will be in 9 different shapes. We have seen all this before. And the Vedikai with the kalasams that are intended for doing Abhishekam to the main Murti is in the center. In our temple, remember, it is a temple where there are intersection points between ordinary people of, people in the ordinary walks of life can understand some of the ceremonies. A temporary Yagnashala is erected. The temporary Yagnashala in our temple, because the main Murti is Maha Tirupura Sundari Rajarajeswari, the Yagnashala is constructed in the shape of a Sri Yantra, with Purva, Dakshina, Paschima, Uttara Dwaras, that is, eastern entrance, southern entrance, western entrance, and northern entrance. If you look at this, you see the different shapes of the Yaga Kundams that are shown in this thing. This is a typical thing. Yagna Mandapa setup is like that. In our temple, this shape is exactly the same, except the Vedika is not in the center. The Vedika is off center, and it is to the west. Where you see the Yaga Kundam in the west, the Vedika is there, which is usually a main kalasam or main kalasas with a combination. And where the Vedika is marked is our Homakunda. So the Upa Devatas, that means the ancillary Devatas, the satellite deities of the main deity are installed inside the Vedika, inside the Yaga Kundam, inside the Yaga Shala. In our case, you see this is the Yagnashala that you see in our temple. It is kind of elaborate because we have used principles that govern the construction and the installation of the deities inside the Yagnashala. Now, you are looking at the western entrance. You will see Nandis are there in all 4 corners. If we can go to a plan, every year there are different configurations, because every year in our temple there is a difference of the theme that year is celebrated on. See, this is a freedom that we have, because we don't have to conform to the agamic principles exclusively, because we have chosen to intersect both the agamic style and the Sri Vidya style. This is possible for us. Now, what you see here is the bare bones Yagnashala the square arrangement that you see has the 4 entrances, and in just outside each entrance you will find a small square. There the Dig Devatas, directional deities, are installed. This is a basic one. Now, one year maybe we have done this, and in the 4 corners you will have the Chaturayana Devatas. Now, this is another year where you see it says 2018. You will see, if you read very carefully, you will see those. You will be able to download this and you can enlarge it and take a look, because if I start going each kalasam, each of those circles, colored circles, indicates a kalasam. If I start going one by one, it is going to take time. Now, if you look at this one, on the outside also there are deities installed. Now, when you look at it, the sloka goes, Ganesha Graha Nakshatra Yoginim Rasi Rupinim Navim Devim Mantramayim Matruka Pita Rupinim. So, we have used nakshatras outside. Nakshatra kalasams are outside. This was in 2019, I believe. If you look at the east, the word east is there. If you go up a little bit above it, you will see Pratyangira and Vanadurga written. Those are the guardian deities that are there protecting the eastern entrance. Similarly, all 4 entrances have been marked. Each of them has a particular deity guarding it. And each of them has a Veda that applies to that particular entrance. If you are approaching it from the east, then you have to worship Rig Veda. Southern entrance, Yajurveda. Western entrance, Samaveda. Northern entrance, Atharvana Veda. So, inside the Yagnashala, the main deity is what you see in the form of a little orange square on the western side. That is the main deity, Mahatripura Sundari. Usually, she is placed on earth, on the Prithvi, and on the Prithvi, Navadhaniyams are soaked in water, and every day of Navaratri, the Navadhaniyams are worshipped. They are first plowed into the soil by Swasinis, and they are worshipped every day of Navaratri by the Swasinis who are attending, who have come for pujas. And this is called a Palika Puja. And above the Devi, if you see the figure that you see in front of you, this consists of 3 kalasams that are placed one on top of the other. See, we have become a little more imaginative. And since the main mantra is Panchasakshari, Vagbhava Kamaraja Kutam, and Shakti Kutam, the one behind the face is the Vagbhava Kutam, Ka'e Ila Hrim. From her neck to her waist is Kamaraja Kutam, Hasaka Hrim. See, the one on top contains honey. The one in the middle contains akshatas. And the one at the bottom, it contains the Kalasa Tirtham. And the Kalasa Tirtham is very carefully prepared. Now, what you can see is Navaratri Kalasam. 3 particular years they have taken and shown. In these, she is standing. She is standing upright. And all her subsidiary deities, if you see on top of the head, you will see in the middle one, 2 strands of jasmine garlands going up. And in the one on the left, you will see a thin line going up. So the base where the earth is Bhuhu, And above this, there are decorative ornaments that are placed representing Bhuvaha, Suvaha, Mahaha, Janaha, Tapaha, Satyam. All of them are there. So all 7 Vyahritis of the Gayatri. Now, what you are seeing here is Bhuvaha, Suvaha, Mahaha, Janaha, Tapaha, Satyam. All the Vyahritis of the Gayatri are represented there. And the Vedikas, inside the Vedikai, which is this one, so instead of installing 4 or 5 or 6 kalasams, they are all in one line. All of them are in one line. Now you can count these as kalasams too. Inside them, although it appears to be empty, the mantrodharana is inside each of those things because Purna Gayatri is installed when we do the worship. Can we go back to some of the other configurations that we have so that they can see those? In the Yagnashala, there are other configurations that are there. Now this one is something that was done this year. The main theme this year was Dasamaha Vidyas. In the center, you see the Homakundam, and the word where you see Shodasi is the main Kalasasthapanam, where you saw her sitting. And in front of her are the Navagrahams, which were represented by actual Murtis, and the Dasamaha Vidyas beginning in the northern entrance, where it says Kali, and it goes anti-clockwise. Kali, Tara, Bhuvaneshwari, Shodasi Bhuvaneshwari, then Tripura Bhairavi, Chinnamasta, Dhumavadi, Bagalamukhi, Matangi, and Kamala. So because it was designed for the Dasamaha Vidyas, Mahatripura Sundari being the main deity in the temple, she is installed as Shodasi there, and her ayudams, her weapons, Ashwaruda and Rajamatangi, Rajashamala in the Ikshudandam, and in the Panchapushpapanam Varahi, and Tiraskarani in the elephant goat are there. So those 4 are there. So when we perform puja inside, all of them have to be worshipped at one time. Now then you will see also there are Nityakala Devis. At the same time, Nityakala Devis and Shodasa Lakshmis are there inside in those other subsidiary dots that you see in between. They are all kalasams representing Shodasa Nityas and Shodasa Lakshmis. And there is a lot more intricate mapping which was apparent when we chanted the mantras for each of them. Now, this is the main arrangement inside the Yaga Mandapa, Yagna Mandapa. You will also see that the person has very carefully drawn the 3 lines that are outside in the Bhupuram, so that you know that it is a Sri Chakram. Now, outside, beginning at the eastern entrance, on the left side is Indra, Purvabhaham, Indra. And then Agni is in the southeast, and Yama is on the southwest, or that on either side of that entrance. And then Nairudhi and Varuna are on the western side, and Vayu and Kubera or Soma are on the northern side. And in the northeastern side, in the eastern entrance on the right-hand side is Ishanya. And Brahma and Vishnu were installed separately in a different place. Now, outside this year, we also had the Vedic arrangement here of the 27 nakshatras, 27 constellations, Kritika, Rohini, Mrgasirsha. So the configuration was 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, which made it 27. The arrangement was proper. Now, inside the Yagna Mandapam, you see a dark blue dot representing Bhairava. That Bhairava Kalasam sat there from day 1 up to the last day. When Udvasanam was done, when Kulutya Abhishekam was done, that is the day she is lifted, the Bhairava is lifted. Outside, where it says Vishnu, each of those deities also had kalasams. And outside the Vishnu, there was a kalasa representing Bhairava for that day's puja. So anybody who was able to sponsor a kalasam, that Bhairava was taken and Udvasanam was done when the kalasams went round the temple. This is on a daily basis. Now, the standard, this one is going to be the standard in future years, even in after the granite temple has been built. This will be the arrangement around the Homakunda, because we don't have a separate Yagnashala. Like I told you, we have to maintain that intersection between the tantric deity and the agamic deity. Now, in the style of pujas that were done, every day, beginning with the first day, when Ghatastapanam, that is Kalasastapanam, installation of the kalasas took place on the first day. And yes, there is a different style that was adopted this year. Can we go to any photograph showing the pomegranates that are seated on top? For Mahatripura Sundari, for Devi, and for very many deities, Dadima Palam, that is pomegranate. Can we go to a photograph, please? The pomegranate is very auspicious, and it is desired that we use these pomegranates for them. Now you see in this kalasam on your left-hand side, on top there is no coconut. We decided that we should have these instead of the coconuts for one reason, maybe a couple more reasons. The main reason being the coconuts that we get here in this part of the world, they are not very popular with the local population, so they don't get sold in the stores very often. With the result that they stay on the shelves for quite some time, and God knows how long they have been traveling by sea or air from the countries, from their countries of origin, which have to be the tropics. And they come, and after they are imported, they have to stay in some warehouse until they are cleared and then transported to the local stores, and the local stores will stock them on the shelves. We do not know how long they sit there. With the result, in the previous years, we have noticed when we finally do Udvasanam of the Kalasam and break the coconuts, they are invariably more than half of them are gone bad. And the Kalasams, if we are going to have a coconut, we are used to seeing in South India and Sri Lanka and Malaysia and Singapore cleaned coconuts. That means only the kurcham is there, the husk is there in the form of a pointed cone on top, and the rest of the husk is removed. Actually, the entire coconut has to be placed. Can we go to a photograph where you can see one of those coconuts? These pomegranates, of course, are Purnam. And besides, if you go to the Lalita Sahasranamam, pomegranate is the only fruit that is mentioned in it. Dadimi Kusuma Prabha, Dadimi Dadima Palam. The kusuma is the flower of the pomegranate is very auspicious for her. Now, if we can see one of the Ishanya or any one of the Kalasams of the Digdevatas, we will be able to see, look at Indra. You can see the coconut, the green coconut. And this is the way it is placed on the Kalasams in the north. Calcutta, Rajasthan, those places, this is how they will do it. And there should be two parts of the stalk that are there. Those should be intact. Unfortunately, this is what we could get, so we have placed them here. So it is also, this is also an education for the people who come and see it. They come and look at the pomegranates and they'll ask, why are the pomegranates there? Because they are not used to seeing it. All the kalasams inside the Vedike, inside the Yagnashala and outside, they were, except the Digdevata kalasams, that is 10 of them, except 10 of them, every kalasam was crowned with a pomegranate. And the pomegranate remained fresh even after the end of all days. Now, there was also another one which we experimented with for the first time. They say, I have read somewhere that what is on top of the kalasam, if you take the seeds out and plant it, it should be able to grow. So we had a particular Ganapati kalasam. I hope we have a photograph of that there. You see, a melon is sitting on top of it. Because for one reason, the mouth of this kalasam was quite big. And we wanted to see how this will perform. And it performed very well. It was fresh, even after 14 days or 12 days or something like that. After it sat, it was completely fresh. So now, let us go back to a view of the Yagna Mandapam, any side, whether it is east, west, north or south. In Hinduism, in Sanātana Dharma, a special place of pride is accorded to elephants. Elephants, they represent auspiciousness, intelligence, affection. Those people who have observed the behavior of elephants when they are in temples or whether they are in private properties, if they are treated with compassion and grace, they will return the favor. Only when they get chained up and they are unable to move, restrained, they turn, sometimes they, like very often in Kerala, they turn violent. Now, we also this year introduced the elephants in between the kalasams to denote, for first thing is decoration. Second one is to denote the auspiciousness of what they are like. So you will see elephants between kalasams. Now what you are seeing outside here are nakshatra kalasams. one quadrant of it. This is the side where 3 of them are there. You will see elephants in between each kalasam. Okay. Can we go back, go to the configurations that were tried by somebody else also? The ones that were made and sent, the digital ones, if we can go back to those. Okay. Now here are various configurations that have been experimented with. You can see by looking at this how much work goes into one of these things. And it is important. I stress this. It is important that these, I insisted that they should be in the slides in this, because this is going to be on record. And in future, maybe 10 years from now, 50 years from now, if you have doubts as to what to place inside the kalasams, inside the Yagnashala, you can take a look at these things. The key is on the right side. If you enlarge them a little bit, you will know what they are. Their kalasams are numbered. Can we go to another configuration? This is what was there this year. See, this is a different configuration. It's a different arrangement. And you will see on the square lines, you will see 8 small kalasams. Those kalasams represent the entrance deity and the Veda that controls that entrance. So those kalasams they were installed on the first tier. Yes. If you look at a photograph of the Yagna Mandapam, you will be able to see those kalasams. Those are also placed there. So all of these had to be planned carefully. And Kalasa Tirtham was prepared the day before Gadasthapanam. And the mixture that is added there, cloves, turmeric, saffron, 27 herbs and spices, and raw camphor, vetiver. See, now this one is in the southern entrance. This is Sulini Durga. You will see that the kalasam is established on the first tier. If we take another look at the photograph from a distance, you will see them where they are positioned. Can we go to a picture where this is taken at a distance? So in that kalasam and perfume, in that kalasam, in the Kalasa Tirtham, all these things are added and carefully mixed and placed there. And this water, this Kalasa Tirtham is, now you see on either side of the deity, at a little height, you will see those 2 kalasams that are placed there. This is from the view from inside, and this also shows you in front of the deity are the Navagrahas, and on the deity's left and to your right, the light blue kalasam, that is Tara Devi. She is wearing a garland of skulls, and she is also wearing a headband of skulls. This is Tara Devi. This is Neela Tara. And on the right side of the deity and on your left side, the kalasam is Bhuvaneshwari. And the Homakundam is in the background, in the foreground. And you will see the attachment that is shown to the Gayatri globes that are there from these kalasams that are there. on the Devi, behind the Devi's clothing are these kalasams. Okay, so now how do you approach this? Every day in the morning, from the first day, Digdevata kalasams are first established so that they stand guard on either side of the entrance. On all 4 sides, 2 to a side, so there are 8 of them, beginning with Indra, Agni, Yama, Nairdi, Varuna, Vayu, Kubera, Soma, and Ishanya. They are here. They are established, and a couple of young people or old people or whoever, some devotees who are capable of doing puja to them, they have to do the puja every day morning to these entrances, the entrance deities. After that, the Chadurayadanam, see, we are still outside the Yagna Mandapam. The Chadurayadanam, southwest, Nairideja Ganechanam, Suryam Vayave Vacha, Ishanye Vishnu, Agneye Shivam Prabhujayet. In the center is the Devi. So, southwest is Ganapati, northwest is Surya, northeast is Vishnu, and southeast is Shiva. They are worshipped. And once they are worshipped, then now we have to, the nakshatra kalasams are worshipped. The kalasams that are outside that represent the nakshatras from Kritika all the way up to above Bharani are worshipped. And different people will be assigned to perform that. Either the main pujari can do it or different people can do it. If the main pujari does it, by the time he finishes the external side, he will be tired, because it is not an easy thing to handle, especially during festivals. Then you worship the entrances, Dwara Puja. You stand at the entrance and worship the kalasams, and on top of it, you will find pictorial representations of the murtis and the Veda that is protecting that area. And they are worshipped with Pancha Upachara Puja. Pushpa Dhupa Naivetya Nirajana. Right? Dhupa Dhipa Naivetya Nirajana. They are worshipped in order, in a clockwise manner. Now, the main pujari who has done the puja to the entrance is now permitted to enter the Yagna Mandapa. He will enter it through the Purva Dwaram, that is Eastern or Dakshina Dwaram. This is a protocol that we have developed in our temple. This is the order in which things are done. Once the pujari is inside, I think we will stop here, because we have done the external puja, the puja outside the Yagna Mandapam. We will begin inside the Yagna Mandapam next week. So if there are questions, maybe we can answer some of them. Are there questions?
Yes, yeah, a lot of different questions. So yeah, one question was, does the Yagna Mandapa Puja sequence change based on the kalashams installed in a particular year?
Yes. What is inside? What is inside the Yagna Mandapam? The puja sequence can change, but the main deity will be worshipped first, which is the Mahatirupura Sundari that is installed there. That will not change. The Digdevatas, the Dwara Pujas, the Dwara Devatas, and the Pradhana Kalasam and the Bhairava will not change. All the others will change. So depending on what the theme is that particular year, the sequence inside the Yagna Mandapam will change.
Yeah, this question is the Navagraha Murtis and the Kalashams. they can be installed inside as well as outside the Vedika? And does it have an impact?
Yes, we can form kalasams. We can prepare kalasams and install the navagrahas inside the kalasams, which will then form part of the retinue outside the Vedika, outside the Yagna Mandapa, and we can worship them. This year, for the first time, I thought, since we have very nice murtis, we could make them part of the beauty inside. So we brought them in there, and right in front of the Devi, they were installed and they were worshipped every day.
A few questions here about the Kalasham. What is the best fruit or vegetable to use for completing a Kalasham? For example, this year pomegranates were used. Are the effects different from using, say, a coconut for the Kalasham?
Not really. Besides, like I told you, practical use is there. When we have 60 kalasams, when we do Udvasanam of the kalasams on the last day, more than half the coconuts are bad. And our people, especially the ordinary person from the street who comes and visits the temple and comes for a Brahmotsavam, when we break the coconut, if the coconut is bad, it leaves a bad taste in their mouth and they think that it is inauspicious. So I didn't want to contend with that this time, especially at a time when there is a pandemic that is going on around and people are restricted from moving from place to place. I don't want to add to the discomfort that they would feel. So a pomegranate is an ideal fruit that can be placed on top of it, on top of a kalasam. Besides, being mentioned in the Lalita Sahasranam, that means the Vagdevatas have mentioned this particular fruit. If you take the pearls from inside the pomegranate, you can do Archana, Sahasranama Archana, or Yantra Archana, or Ashtotra Sadanama Archana, or Sahasranama Archana with these pearls. And one other use is, if it is Mahatripura Sundari, you can add it to the curd rice that you give, yogurt rice that you give. I don't know whether any of you have been to Kanchipuram during some particular season, Kartika Masam, I think. Invariably, the Thai Chadam will have pomegranate pearls inside.
A related question, Ayya. The coconut, the fruit that is placed on the Kalasham, should it be considered prasadam and consumed, or should it be placed on the ground?
Absolutely, it can be consumed. And besides, in a Brahmotsavam, it has sat there for so many days and absorbed all the mantras. What better prasadam than that? And besides, the pomegranate, now this time, within 10 minutes, everything was gone. When we put the prasadam out, within 10 minutes, people just grabbed it. And it makes you feel good because you know that all those mantras are going to go into people's stomachs and hopefully convert them.
Yeah,
yes.
The mapping of the Vedas to the different Dwaras, is there a basis for this particular mapping, like Atharvana Veda to the northern entrance, for instance?
This is the standard Sri Vidya practice. If you look at it, it will tell you Purva, Dakshina, Paschima, Uttara Dwaras are controlled by these Vedas, that they are there in these. That is standard. This is another place where there is an intersection between the agamic. See, we have to introduce the principles of the Vidya that we are following in little imperceptible doses to the public. So this is another place where it can be done.
Yeah, you mentioned the Vedika that we set up in the temple. We get creative with it because it is not an agamic temple. In an agamic temple, how would it be different?
it will be in where you see the Homakundam will be the Vedikai. And the Homakundams will be surrounding the Vedikai. In the sense, in a normal Agamic temple, there will be 9 Homakundams around it. And pujas will be going on in each of them. Each type of an Agni will be created. Now you see, this is what you see in the center. On the extreme right, what you see is the Vedikai. See, it's a little more elaborate. If you look at the roof that they constructed it with vetiver. And every day somebody will come and spray some water and it will be perfumed. There are other pictures of the Homakundams that you see. This is done in permanent. Now you see the one on the left-hand side down. You will see the different shapes of the Homakundams that have been created there. This is a permanent Yagnashala. We don't have a permanent Yagnashala in our temple. And just like the Homakundam in Kolluru, in front of the Mookambika temple, it will be always in front of her. These are different pictures of the Vedika, of the Yagna Mandapams that you see.
Yeah, do these Homakundams have a significance? For example, are they mapped to the Grahas? Because there are 9 of them?
No, there are various, we have gone through this in the beginning stages of these classes. So I would ask you to go back and check. Because when we studied about, when we talked about the Homakundams, we did the various shapes, what each of them means.
Then, yeah, what is the significance of invoking and worshipping Purna Gayatri?
Gayatri is described as Veda Mata. So the four entrances, the 4 dwarams, when you are worshipping them, you are worshipping the children. Shouldn't you show some respect to the mother? And all the mantras like that, what we chant, Rudram, Namakam, Chamakam, Purusha Suktam, Narayana Suktam, Sri Suktam, Durga Suktam, Nila Suktam, all of these, they come from the Vedas and she's the mother of the Vedas. So Purna Gayatri has to be installed in the Panchadasi. The 3 kalasams that are there for the main Tripura Sundari kalasam in the western side of the Homakundam. Ka'e ila Hrim is derived from one Purna Gayatri. Hasaka Hala Hrim is derived from another Purna Gayatri. Sakala Hrim is derived from another Purna Gayatri. So the origin is the Gayatri mantra. So you have to worship the mother, and in her full form, we have tried our best using our imagination to represent the Bhuhu, Bhumi. So that is where the Palika is. And then Bhuha, Swaha, Maha, Janaha, Tapaha, Satyam. All of those are there. And each, if you look at the globes that have been represented, successively, each one is, you see, from the smallest size, it is growing up to the biggest one, and the most the glorified one is Satyalokam. Represents from the navel upwards. Okay, so each plane of existence is represented. And it is important to worship her. You have to show the proper respect for her. And when people come, especially people who are used to the Agamic and Vedic side of things, when they come, here is another intersection that we have used to educate the public and to educate the children who are in the temple.
One last question. The materials that went into the 3 Homakundams, so the Kalasha Tirtham, Akshatas and honey, are they in some way related to the 3 kutas of the Panchadashi?
Absolutely. They are related to the 3 kutas of the Panchadasa actually. Vagbhava Kutam is honey. Honey is not only just a preservative. There have been instances where they have found sealed jars of honey inside the great pyramids of Giza. When you look at them, especially in the tombs, that honey is still fresh. Even to this day, after 4,000 or 5,000 years, it is still fresh. So it is a preservative, and it has medicinal qualities, as you know. If you are familiar with Ayurvedic medications, honey is a very important thing. In Sri Lanka, there's an entirely separate branch of Ayurveda that is practiced by the Buddhists. And the names are different, but one of the main ingredients, one of the main mediums that they use to transfer the medications to the patient is honey. They'll mix it in honey and give it to you. So it has healing qualities. The third quality that it has is it will absorb the mantras that are used. It will absorb the mantra. So after Udvasanam of the Kalasas, this honey is packed in little containers or little plastic bags, or what you call that, Ziploc bags, and given to the devotees to take home. So that's another advantage. The Akshatas, of course, are the central portion. It is in the Kamarajakutam. Kamarajakutam is the region of Lakshmi. Sri Madhava Vakshasthala Nivasinyai Namaha. Govinda Vakshasthala Nivasinyai. So in the center is for Lakshmi. And that is Lakshmi that is given to people. And the one that is lower down is Gauri. And in the end, all of us will end up in, after we are cremated, and the ashes will end up in either the Ganges or some river or some ocean. Shakti Kutam is beautifully represented inside that. So this is the mapping. Panchasakshari mapping is there.
That's all the questions today. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see you again next week. Okay, we'll see you again next week.
Thank you, Aya, for a very informative session about the Vedicas and sharing more about each of the kalashas and the setup for the external part of the Vedike. We're excited to learn more in the coming sessions. To all, to access any of our content from prior sessions, please visit srividya.org/AYM-lectures. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for today's session. At this time, we will hand it over to Vyas Uncle from Ashtanga Yoga Mandir to begin our yoga session.
Pranams to Ayya and all the devotees of the Sri Vidya Temple and also the members of the Ashtanga Yoga Mandir. It was such a wonderful, enlightening and very informative and very colorful to see how much of aspects are gone into it. So much of knowledge, so much of science, so much of architecture. And so the whole Navaratri, people who have been there or those who have been enjoying through the live stream has been having a great exposure. So it's a great honor. We are proud to be part of Ayya's lineage. And today we will go into one of the most important asana, which is called as the Purva Uttana Asana, one of the very primary asana. This asana in ancient text is called as the Kartika Asana. So sometimes what happens is there are certain names which has changed due to reasons, but they also have different names also. So we always just try to ensure that people have the different names or like the similar names. So how do you do these asanas? So you can do these asanas in the different stages. So basically the first, you keep your hands behind in this position. So this is an asana which is generally done to strengthen your neck, your shoulders, your wrist, your elbows, and the fingers and all these things is basically what you try to do it. So the first most important practice, like any of the practices which you try to do for hand-based strengthening, this asana becomes the primary asana. So first you be like this. So all of you all can come into this position. So you will see my fingers are facing outward. So you be there for 5 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now you take your fingers facing in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you will see the head is dropped. So once you are fine, then you will bring your leg like this. You will bend, and then again you will take your fingers outward like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then now again you will take your fingers inward. So these are all the different preparatory practices. So people of any age can do the practice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then when you feel comfortable, you will slowly come up, straighten the legs. 1, and drop your head. 1. So here what happens, those who are in the early stages, you can always use a wall, like how I am doing it. So the head is on the wall. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then take your leg back, then straighten the other leg. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then when you feel very comfortable, you will straighten both legs, and then the toes will be facing up. That is what is the important thing. So you will see when you bring the legs up, you can keep it like this. So coming to this position, it's okay. You don't need to touch the toe. The toes doesn't need to touch the floor. You come into this position. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Relax yourself. Come down. Again, so the fingers are facing in. Once again, try up, lift yourself up, and the toes tries to face the floor. Drop your head back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Relax yourself. So once you feel that you are very comfortable, so the toes are facing towards the floor. And now what you will do is you will slowly come up, and then if you feel comfortable, your heels are together, your toes are together, toes touches the floor, and the head is dropped backward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and relax. Slowly come down and slowly relax yourself. And if you just feel like strengthening yourself, the wrist, you can just strengthen the wrist. If you want to strengthen the shoulders, elbows, you can do this practice. So here, what you will basically see is that this asana, which is called as the Purvottana Asana or Purva Uttana Asana or Kartikasana. Any of these asanas, if you take, you will see will start working on your neck region. Strengthens the neck, your elbows, your shoulders, your fingers. This practice is generally like we have a program, used to do very specific programs for musicians. Like what happens sometimes, those who are new people in the field of music, like, mridangam, tabla, drums, or guitar, these people, they always have sometimes a certain pain, lot of pain comes for them on their shoulders, hands. So how to avoid it or how to make it more stronger, there's a sequence of asanas of that nature. This is one of that primary asana for the people in the field of music. Same way, you will see the same asana is used for the people in the field of sports, especially in badminton and also in tennis. And also, some of you know about the table tennis. So when this comes to these sports also, you have a very good grip. So to increase and get a balance, you do this. Third layer is those who are going into sarvangasana type of practices, where the weight is given more. Then you have to ensure, like when you have certain health related issues, like thyroid related issues, headache related issues, migraine related issues. People of that caliber, they need to do a lot of balancing practices on your hand. So people of that nature also, we use this asana. When it comes into the special need children also, like for example, you divide that into two categories. There's big children who are going into very active sports or hyperactive. We use this asana as one of the primary asanas. Then for special need children, you will see this is one of the very important asanas which generally they do with the support of the wall. And then like there will be some other person also to do the support so that their motor organs will function. So thank you very much for all for joining this program. And my pranams and namaskaram once again to respectable Haranaya and all the wonderful members of the Sri Vidya family. And also to all those who are viewing this program by Facebook Live, and also for all Ashtanga Yoga Mandir members, we will end the sessions with the Shanti. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you and God.